best Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
Really enjoying the Twitter machine today, Grayson, I'll tell you that much. There are good days and there are bad days on Twitter.com. Or I should say the website formerly known as Twitter.com.
No.
It'll always be Twitter
It's always
to those
Twitter.
of us with a head on our shoulders. But I suppose Elon Musk does get to decide what the app is actually titled, tragically enough. But the app that we all know as Twitter has been it's been entertainment today, quality entertainment. For instance, I did not know until today, I probably should have known this, but did not know until today, in the aftermath of OU's loss to Auburn last night on the hardwood, that Chad Baker-Mazara is 25 years old.
He's the same
Grayson.
age. He's the same age as Luka Doncic.
Correct.
Yes.
Luka Doncic is 25 years old.
Yep.
Luka Doncic is one of the 5, maybe 3 best basketball players in the world at age 25. And then you have Chad Baker-Mazara still hooping for the Auburn Tigers at age 25.
You know how many years of eligibility he has left?
How many years of eligibility does he have left?
Oh, I don't know. I was wondering if you knew.
Oh, I thought there was going to be some mind-numbing answer to that you were about to drop on me.
No.
No.
Hey, Brody, you got one for us?
25 years old. I would hope the answer is 0 years of eligibility left.
We
But
just did the thing with Cam McCormick.
Yep. In the COVID era, in the JUCO doesn't count era, in the what will no doubt soon be infinite eligibility era, this is the new normal.
You know, when you see that, and I saw that last night, and it made me think, that ruling with the whole JUCO doesn't count thing might be the dumbest thing ever.
Oh, it's completely stupid. But again, because of the implementation of NIL and the advent of the NIL era, we're going to get to the point, probably soon, where college football players have unlimited eligibility because someone is going to take the NCAA to court and say, you can't put constraints on my earning potential, and your eligibility rules do that. And the court will agree. The NCAA will lose the lawsuit, and you will have 35-year-olds still playing college football because they're not good enough to go to the league, but they can make it in the Power Four.
I forgot this. Drew from Flower Mound on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Bryson Goodine is 25 years old,
Yeah, that's
too.
right. He's a sixth-year senior.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's up there in age. Which, by the way, I saw the starting lineup released in advance of the game last night, and nothing against Bryson Goodine, nothing against Duke Miles, but I'm sitting there wondering, where is Dayton Forsythe in all of this?
He's not ready to start.
Oh, he's absolutely ready to start. Come on now.
I don't think – see, look, here's the thing, Parker. Some guys are better in that role coming off the bench. Mentally, it's just better for them. They get into the flow of the game better when they come off the bench. I know you didn't play, but it's a real thing. So you've got to be careful with that. I think he is best suited for this team in his role coming off the bench, and I don't know if he'll have that same impact in the starting lineup.
And you're 100% correct in that I did not play basketball at any sort of high level. I quit playing when I was 12.
I didn't mean that as an offense, by the way.
It's completely fine because I will freely admit hoops is the one sport that I never had any aptitude with whatsoever. I was not a hooper. Gave that up very quickly in life. Stuck to what I was good at or decent at, as the case may be. So, to your point, be that as it may, I think you still have to try it with Dayton Forsythe, right? Like, give it a shot. Give it 2 or 3 games to see what he gives you in the starting 5. And then if he's better coming off the bench, then fine. Okay, have him be that 6th man all year. But my point is, when you see a guy make that type of impact, the impact that Forsythe has made off the bench consistently being the spark plug for this team when he gets on the floor, why would you not want to get an idea of what that looks like in an expanded capacity?
I get why you pose the question, but I don't know. I just don't think, and honestly, to be honest with you, I think if he's going up against the starting five, the complete starting five for another team, it would look totally different. I think he's a great energy guy. I think he can give you spot buckets, but I don't think he's a guy that you can play for a long stretch of minutes and him be a plus for you. I don't think he's there just yet.
I did not watch the whole game last night. I'll admit it. I turned that thing off with about 6 minutes left. It's like, you know what? It's pretty clear where this is headed. I imagine many are in the same boat. OU Hoops, they're going to have to steal one down the stretch from somebody. They're probably going to have to steal 2 or 3, more realistically.
They would, and winning at home against Tennessee is going to go a long way. By the way, last night, Dayton Forsyth, in 22 minutes, 1 for 8 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3.
Who led the Sooners in points? I know when I turned the game off, Forsyth led them in points.
So somehow he ended up with 13.
Yeah, he was like 9 for 9, 10 for 10, something like that from the free throw
11
line.
for 11 is how
There
he
you go.
finished,
Yep.
yeah. Him.
Yep, he led him.
We led him with 13 points. Jalen Moore at 11. But that's the most inefficient 13 points you will ever see in your life.
It's good, and in general, it's just going to be a rough night for Oklahoma when the scorers aren't scoring. And the scorers are Jalen Moore and Jeremiah Fierce.
Mm-hmm.
I know Bryson Goodine had the one game against A&M where he popped off for 34. Sure, you'll get that once in a blue moon, but that's not something you count on. If it happens, great. The scoring has to come from Fierce and Moore, most specifically and most consistently. And unfortunately, Jalen Moore has actually been remarkably consistent over the course of the season. Fierce, not as much. He's had some freshman moments. He's had some droughts. There have certainly been some games where he's looked like an absolute force and like the lottery pick that he is touted as. But that's the state of OU hoops right now, folks. They're going to have to fight tooth and nail to get to the tournament. And if they fall short of the tournament, it's going to be a very uncomfortable conversation surrounding Porter Moser's job security next month. Because missing the tournament 4 straight years at the University of Oklahoma has not been done since the 70s. That's a long time ago. My parents don't even remember the 70s, at least not very well. We're talking close to a half century since Oklahoma missed the tournament 4 straight years, and that's back when the tournament was 32 teams. It was a lot easier to miss back in the day. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. This hour brought to you by Dorsey Jones Buick GMC. Great service staff, great prices, half-price oil changes on Saturdays as well. Plenty of reasons to make the trek out to El Reno and do business with the folks at Dorsey Jones Buick GMC. We appreciate their sponsorship of Locked In. Now, the crux of the show for an hour every single weekday is OU football and more specifically recruiting, when there is recruiting to talk about. And generally, at this time of the year, at least in years past, there has been a lot to talk about in the realm of recruiting. Here we sit on what in technicality is National Signing Day 2025, Grayson, and there are no storylines. None whatsoever for the second straight year in Oklahoma. And that's fine. Like that's not necessarily indicative of a negative trend for the program, not an indication that they're doing something wrong. But this is the way the recruiting world is moving. You go back to the 2022 cycle when Brent Venables and his staff had just gotten to town. They signed 4 players. Actually, I think they officially signed more than that because I want to say Gentry Williams, Robert Spears Jennings, maybe Jaden Rowe as well. There were guys that had waited to sign until the February period. But they signed 4 previously uncommitted players on National Signing Day in February 2022. R. Mason Thomas, that turned out real nice.
Yeah.
Grayson Halton, likewise. And then 2 guys that didn't stick around after year 1, and Jamarian Burt, who landed at South Alabama, and Cavante Henry, who washed, like, I did not think we were going to ever hear from Cavante Henry again, I'll be completely honest. Some of the things I heard about him in the first and only year that he was at Oklahoma, just a lack of work ethic, complete absence of any drive to be great, made me figure, okay, this dude just is not cut out for it. He's going to go play FCS or D2 football somewhere, wrap up his college career, and then enter the workforce. He went to JUCO and wound up being the number 1 player in the 2025 JUCO cycle and signed with Alabama in December. So he's actually done all right for himself on the bounce back. But since that day in February 2022, on which Oklahoma signed 4 previously uncommitted players, flipping R. Mason Thomas from Iowa State and flipping Grayson Halton from Oregon, there has only been 1 total player in the last 3 recruiting cycles that Oklahoma has added on the February signing day. That was Bethany, Oklahoma's own Taylor Heim back in February of 2023. That's it, Grayson. And in the NIL era, there is more incentive than ever before to enroll early.
Yep.
Because then you can start getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
And these, we're getting to the point where it's becoming more and more common for guys to start getting paid while they're still in high school. But that's not the case everywhere. And so the quicker you can get paid, the quicker you're going to want to be enrolled at your college of choice. And so the direction that everything has begun to move is that more and more kids are signing in December in what is still technically referred to as the early signing period.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're enrolling in January. However, what that means is that it has dried up a lot of the drama and a lot of the intrigue surrounding the February signing day because, just look at the storylines today. There are 2 players that are considered legit blue chippers across the recruiting industry that were as of yet unsigned today and undecided on their colleges of choice. You had 5-star offensive tackle Ty Haywood, who was set to sign with Alabama in December, backed out, and committed to Michigan earlier today. So he's going to sign with the Wolverines. And then you had 4-star edge Zahir Mathis, who, as I recall, was committed to Penn State. I think it was Penn State for quite some time. Anyway, he backed off. He waited till February as well. He just signed today with Maryland. Outside of that, Grayson, that's really it. I can remember a time, because it hasn't been all that long. Again, you go back to 2022, where there was a lot to get excited about, man. A lot to get excited about on the February signing day. A lot to look forward to. R. Mason Thomas in particular, man. And that's no knock on Grayson Halton or either of the other 2 guys that Oklahoma signed in 2022 on that February day. But R. Mason Thomas was what everybody was stoked about going into that day.
Sure.
And obviously his college career has borne out the reason that so many folks were so excited to officially flip that kid from Iowa State because it had been in the works for a while. He didn't make it official until signing day. And so you think back to all of the epic storylines that have occurred on signing days of years gone by, and you still get a lot of those in December, but that makes the February signing day and the February signing period a lot less interesting in many cases.
I mean, at this point, the February signing day is obsolete.
Yep.
At this point, and for the exact reasons that you named. Here's how I knew that the February signing period was pretty much a moot point. When I heard you walk in the door today. Because if the February signing period was anything of note, you would not be here today. You would be where you were during the December signing day.
Bingo.
Exactly. So, but in terms of it, here's what NIL has done in a way that we don't talk about much. It has rearranged the calendar. It's obviously rearranged every part of life when it comes to college sports, particularly college football, but it's rearranged the calendar to where guys are just trying to get committed. And I think from a school's perspective as well, you want your guys to sign in December too, because you don't want those 11th hour bids coming in from a program that may have deeper pockets than you do, which is something Oklahoma's going to have to face with some of their guys, be it Jaden O'Neal, be it Bo Bentley, who now has Ohio State in the picture now. So you want your guys to put the ink to paper in December. Don't let this drag out for another month and a half because God knows what happens in a month and a half. So it's rearranged the calendar, and it's just made us think differently about these timelines of getting these kids signed.
And, kids don't sign a national letter of intent anymore. They just sign.
That too.
Yeah, they just sign financial aid agreements. So I'm wondering if there comes a time in the not-too-distant future where there is no signing day and not even a signing period of a certain amount of days. It's just, okay, you sign a financial aid agreement, you're coming here in January. You could sign that in December, or you could sign that in, like, June after you commit.
See, okay. Do you like that?
No, I don't like it.
Okay, I don't, because I don't either. I think there needs to be a period where you're signing people. We can't have unlimited free agency and unlimited signing. We can't have both. One of them has thrown the world into complete chaos. The second would just be even more problematic.
I'm with you, man. I liked the way things were 5 years ago. I liked the recruiting landscape, the old school recruiting landscape.
Well, I didn't like how players didn't get paid. I didn't like that part. I know you and I differ a little bit on that.
I have a very nuanced take on all of that, but there was a lot less. There was just a lot more structure, and I think it was a lot more engaging pre-NIL. But look, this is the way of the world now, and in the words of Billy Beane from Moneyball, adapt or die. There I am quoting Moneyball again.
That's the only movie you quote.
It's a very quotable movie.
Is that the only movie you've seen in your life?
No, come on, listen. You stick around long enough, you'll hear me quote many other quotable movies. Have you ever watched Meet the Robinsons?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, boy, that is way quotable. That is an underrated banger.
I can agree with that.
405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. We will hit it on the other side. So you got questions, you got opinions. Let's talk. Hit the text line. This is Locked In. We'll be right back. Keep it here.
This is Deion Burks, and you're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Hi, this is Jack Kiker with Knippelmeyer Chevrolet, located in Blanchard, America. My grandfather, Larry Knippelmeyer, tells me everybody deserves to save money, so say goodbye to those pushy big-time dealers with all those add-ons like paint protectors, nitrogen tires, and everything else that they could possibly think of. Then come down to Knippelmeyer Chevrolet, just 15 minutes from OKC or Norman. At Knippelmeyer, we will save you money and make sure you get a good buy from a family-owned dealership that has treated customers like family for over 65 years. Chevrolet, together let's drive.
What are you doing out there?
Come on!
I saw you at the game the other night. Yeah, you. Up there getting mad, acting like we're all out there making $1 million a game. Well, let me be real with you. This isn't the pros. It's school sports, and it's a game, our game. So please, let us play.
School sports fans, remember, when you cheer for your team, make noise for the right reasons. This message presented by the NFHS and the NIAAA.
And all student athletes in Oklahoma.
Don't miss out on OKC's hottest entertainment at the Showplace Theater with acts like Gladys Knight, February 28th. 38 Special, March 7th. Bonnie Raitt, March 15th. And Chicago, March 28th. Riverwind is OKC's favorite casino experience.
Coach Stoops here. Join me every week on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Monday morning at 7:45, I'll join the voice of the Sooners, Toby Rowland, and TJ Perry for the Stoops Review. We'll break down all the action from the weekend, and on Thursday afternoons at 4:45 with Teddy and Tyler on The Rush as we get you ready for the weekend slate. It's the best time of year, and you can find me exclusively on The Ref. Download the KREF app today so you listen from anywhere in the world.
Did the recent storms damage your home and roof? Call All-American Roofing today. All-American Roofing has been repairing and replacing roofs for over 40 years and is a second-generation locally owned roofing company. They are also a Google guaranteed contractor and offer free inspections. Our roofers are GAF Master Elite contractors with a BBB A+ rating. Call All-American Roofing today at 405-787-0400. All-American Roofing, the best roofing company in Oklahoma. 405-787-0400.
Tired of your current living situation? Now is the best time to make a move. Interest rates are dropping and Home Creations is offering the best financing around with rates as low as 3.625%. This will save you hundreds per month on your brand new Home Creations home. Live like a champion today by calling Holly at 405-364-9999 for full details.
364-9999 Home Creations.
APR 6.508%.
Bring your besties or your sweeties to the Sooner Bowling Center in Norman for their Valentine's Day special. Friday, February 14th, from 5 p.m. to midnight, you get 90 minutes of bowling for 6 bowlers for only $60. There will be holiday food and drink specials all night on Valentine's Day. And don't forget, you can also now book your escape rooms for Escape Sooner for Valentine's Day. Visit SoonerBowl.com for more information.
Hornsdown Apple Pie Liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural, 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the Yums because Spike was safe, Hornsdown Apple Pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Hornsdown celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Street, and wreak havoc on social media. You can find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
Always love a Doug in Norman text on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line.
What's up with Doug today?
Oh, man. Doug always has opinions, and he's never going to hold back.
What's up with you, bro?
Listen, Doug's a great guy in real life. But if you read some of his texts and you had never met him in real life, you might not anticipate that.
Might think he's an a-hole.
I know that there are plenty of texters who have that perception of Doug.
We
and
love you, Doug.
It's certainly texts like this that feed into that perception. Again, I've met Doug on many an occasion. Phenomenal human being. He will even bring us lunch at the office on occasion. Regular listener. But this particular text is incendiary, to say the least.
Ooh.
To say that Dayton Forsythe should be an SEC starter is patently ridiculous.
Okay.
Yes, he is a spark plug and provides some energy and dives for the ball, etc. But in the SEC, he is a total defensive liability. His man goes by him constantly, and he is not physically able to play at even a minimum level in the SEC. He can't play help defense because he is too small. And while he hits a 3-ball occasionally, his shooting is an inconsistent liability. A mediocre bench player at best.
You know why I like Doug? You know why I like Doug's text? Is because even if you don't agree with him, he tells you why he thinks the way he thinks.
Exactly.
And I can
appreciate
respect that. Now, to the actual content of the text. I didn't see anything you said there that's wrong. I think he's a guy that can develop into a better player, and I think, Doug, you might be writing him off a little bit too early because he is still a freshman. But in terms of what we see right now, I agree. I mean, he can't stay in front of anybody right now. He throws his body around. He gets on the floor. He denies the catch really well. And those are things that can hype up and get your team going. Give him, like what Doug said, a spark plug. But in terms of being a consistent player, you saw he played 22 minutes. That's extended minutes for a bench player, especially in conference play. He played 22 minutes last night and was 1 for 8 from the field. So he threw his body around, got some fouls, got to the foul line. But the team shot poorly last night, and he was a part of it. So, look, I agree. I think that's well thought out and well said by Doug.
And look, Doug, again, absolutely respect the fact that you bring an actual rationale to the table. You have your opinion. I have mine. I'll just say that, like, there are dudes in the starting 5 for Oklahoma right now that shouldn't be SEC starters. Like, are we going to have that conversation?
That's fair.
So with where this program is at and where they're headed, what I like about Dayton Forsythe is that night in, night out, he's giving you effort. Man, you can tell he plays with a hunger, and he's not a finished product by any means. I don't think you'd expect him to be as a true freshman, and it's obvious that there's growth that needs to happen and that will happen in his game. There's an additional measure of consistency as a defender and as a shooter that needs to be cultivated, and that'll come with time. That'll come with experience. But again, I'm not saying plug that guy into the starting lineup for the rest of the season. You don't have to make any sweeping long-term decisions based on snap judgments after a few games. But I think that guy has shown enough. I think he's shown enough potential and certainly enough effort that he warrants a start or two just to see what it looks like with a starter's minutes. If it doesn't work, if it proves to be the case that he's better off the bench than in a starting role, or he's just not suited for a starting role quite yet, then I would say, okay, just go back to what you were doing. But I'm not having this conversation. I'm not initiating this conversation in a world where Oklahoma is trotting out 5 guys every single night that are objectively SEC caliber starters. That's not the case, though.
No, yeah, that's good. Here's what I would say to that. If you're going to run Dayton Forsythe out there as a starter, hypothetically, you're in a really, really bad spot. And the spot you're in, given what Forsythe is to this team, if you run him out as a starter, you're basically saying your team needs an AED type of shot in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And if your team is lacking that much energy, that's on the coach.
It is.
That is when, if your team is not ready to play to the point where you have to put that dude in the start. Look, no offense to Dayton Forsythe, but he is what he is right now. If you're having to put that dude in the starting lineup, your message isn't getting across. You're not inspiring these guys to go out and play, and somebody's lost some heart. And you're in a really, really bad spot if you've got to start that guy. Moving Bryson Goodine to the starting lineup is one thing. Moving Dayton Forsythe would be another. And you don't want to get into that territory.
Here's how I see it. Now, I'm not saying this is the truth. I'm just saying this is how I see it. For the first 3 years of the Porter Moser era at Oklahoma, there has been a neglect of the future in favor of the moment and what is going on. For instance, it was pretty well known behind the scenes, I would say by early February last year, right about this time, that Milos Uzan and Javian McCollum were checked out. And that they were not returning to Oklahoma the following year.
Yes, I would agree.
And so at that point, given where that team was at, and yeah, they were fighting. They were on the bubble. They were in the picture for a tournament berth. They wound up the first team out. Okay. But to consistently, down the stretch throughout that season, do the most to make sure those guys were getting the ball enough and they were satisfied and that everything was as cool as it could be with those two, all the while knowing that they're not on your team next year. Like, to me, at what point do you start building for the future and just acknowledging that this season is not going to end up where you wanted it to go? And that's a hard admission to make.
For somebody who doesn't watch the NBA, that is a very NBA way of going about things. There is a point in seasons, the Pelicans are going to come up on it, the Jazz are going to come up on it, Portland's probably there already. There's a point in the season where you punt on it, and you start playing your younger guys. You may start playing those 10-day guys, calling up guys from the G just to see what you got in it, because and you'll sit down and just shut down your established guys so you can see what you have for the future. That is a very, very NBA method of operation, and I'm surprised it came out of your mouth of all people.
And look, here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying punt on the season, right? I'm not saying pull Cool Attack's red shirt and throw him in the game. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, if you got a guy that's a true freshman coming off the bench and he's shown you something in Dayton Forsythe, maybe you're a little bit more willing to give that guy additional minutes because you know he's going to be around and you want to accelerate his developmental process, then just keep throwing super seniors out there for as many minutes as they're eating up.
I agree with the thought. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, what do we know about this team next year? We know Jeremiah Fears is not coming back because he's going to be a lottery pick.
Mm-hmm.
We know Jalen Moore is not coming back because he will be an NBA draft pick. Sam Godwin is graduating.
Mm-hmm.
The Yaya Kita experiment will mercifully be over, so that will be a scholarship opened up. Bryson Goodine is graduating. Duke Miles, I think he can apply for a red shirt and come back.
I'll have to check on that.
I believe that is the case, so you might have him back, might not. But with as much roster turnover as we've seen every single year with Porter's squad, the way it's basically been a clean slate every single year, I would have to go back and determine what's the most scholarship players he's retained 1 year to the next, I can't imagine it would be more than 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the holdovers from 1 year to the next over the course of Moser's era have been few and far between. Sparse. I don't even know, what does somebody ask on the text line? What about Jadon Jones and Jeff Wonkwo? Are those guys back at Oklahoma next year? You'd like to think so, but again, how many guys have had one-off seasons at Oklahoma under Moser and then hopped on to the next destination via the transfer portal?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a clue what the future looks like for Oklahoma basketball. But I feel like I can say with some degree of certainty that Dayton Forsythe is going to be around.
I do too. I mean, that's one of your guys, and we talked about it with the football recruiting. That's one of their guys at Oklahoma, born and bred, that want to be here.
Exactly.
He's from Dale. A couple really good texts on the text line about this conversation. Jason from Garland, Parker, there is no future with college basketball. Every year is essentially a new roster, except a couple of players. Who would you build with last year? Moser was coaching for his job, and he needs to win. And that's the whole thing about it. Whereas in the NBA, you've got guys under contract, so you can see what your expiring contracts look like. You can see what your 10-day look like, your two-way contracts. You can't really do that in college basketball. Because even if a guy's on the fence about coming back, if they see you punt on the season by starting to play freshmen, well, you've made the decision for them at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you don't want to be doing that because you do want to retain as much as possible.
And again, punt on the season is not what I'm trying to get across. What I'm saying is you got one freshman that has looked great and that isn't going to be an NBA draft pick, at least not this year, and that you can say with some degree of certainty is going to be back on your roster next year. Why not give that guy more of a chance to develop? Because, here's the thing. Are you winning with this team? Are you getting to the tournament with this team?
Maybe.
I don't think so, Grayson. And frankly, with what we saw last night against Auburn, for instance, even if you get to the tournament, how far realistically are you going?
You're not getting out of the first round.
I would tend to agree. So what is realistic from this team this year? That's an open, that's not a rhetorical question. That's a question that you can come up with your own answer to. But in my mind, coming in, there was promise, and you saw that in non-conference play. And you have Jeremiah Fears, and you have Jalen Moore, and those guys are going to give you a shot against pretty much anybody. But that's all it is a shot. And I just don't think you have the firepower elsewhere to be able to hang with the upper crust of college basketball. Even if you get a 30-piece from Jeremiah Fears or from Jalen Moore on any given night, are you going to be able to play good enough defense to make sure you don't just get flat outscored? I mean, Auburn darn near cracked triple digits last night.
Dropped 54 in the second half alone.
Exactly. And so I don't it's hard to even broach this conversation because, yeah, it does feel like to a certain extent you are punting on the season. And I'm not completely given up on the outlook for Oklahoma, but I just think you need to be realistic about where you're at.
Here's the thing, though, Parker. They have so many quad one wins from the non-con that they might, maybe to our dismay, get into the tournament. They have the win over Michigan. I mean, you think about it. You listen to the ref radio over the last month or so. You would have thought this team is dead in the water.
Yep.
They've got the wins. By the way, you know who they just beat over the weekend? 24th ranked Vanderbilt. There's another quad one win. Now, and by the way, in basketball, with the way teams can go hot and cold because it's such a long season, you've got Kentucky at home, you've got Mississippi State at home. Both are going to be quad one games because Mississippi State and Kentucky are ranked.
Yep.
Mississippi is ranked. They're 25 right now. Missouri, who you have to play twice, is 15. Texas, we'll see what that game ends up looking like, but that's going to be a road game, so likely going to be a quad one game. The opportunities are still there, and believe it or not, and we have done this rightfully so, we've probably underscored their resume a little bit because of the recency. They got a pretty damn good resume because they went undefeated in the non-con and beat a couple of decent teams. So this might be a slow bleed when it comes to watching the rest of this Sooner basketball season.
Mike in Sand Springs says, it's my understanding, mainly from you guys, that he needs to make the tournament this year or lose his job. So why would he coach for next year? And that's a fair rejoinder, certainly. And I get that. I don't know, man. Like, and here's the other question that I guess I would pose to the fan base is, do you even want Oklahoma to make the tournament?
And that's the question.
That's an uncomfortable question. But, like, a lot of people are just out on the Porter Moser experience. They're just out on, like, they want it over. And if you make the tournament, does that prolong something, like, does it keep afloat the ship that you feel like is sinking anyway? I'm not saying I think that. I'm not saying any particular listener thinks that, but there are plenty that have expressed that sentiment, that this is going nowhere, there needs to be change. I think there are so many people, and understandably so, that have one eye on Kellen Sampson at Houston because they know how much he loves the Oklahoma basketball program, that he was a contender for the job in 2021 when Porter Moser eventually got it, and they see him as somebody that could re-inject some life into the Oklahoma basketball program. And does every year that you prolong the Porter Moser experiment cost you a shot at the guy that's considered one of the top up-and-coming assistants in college basketball and a guy that wore your uniform at the college level? So there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot of different opinions. Seeing them all right now on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. You all have thoughts. We'll see how the next month of the season plays out and whether Oklahoma is even in position to sit on the bubble come Selection Sunday. They got to steal some wins, and they're going to have to steal some wins from some pretty good basketball teams because that schedule down the stretch is absolutely no joke. Okay, keep firing away. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. We will return with one final segment of Locked In coming up on the other side. Keep it here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Do you eat, sleep, and breathe Sooner football? We do too. This is The Ref, home of Sooner fans.
Imagine one step, and suddenly a fall turns into a fracture. For many, osteoporosis is a hidden threat, weakening bones silently until it's too late. At the Ortho Central Bone Health Clinic, we believe in personalized care to keep bones strong and resilient. Led by advanced practitioner Amanda Boyd, our team specializes in detection and personalized treatment plans, from bone density testing to strengthening bones after a fracture. Take charge of your bone health today. Call Ortho Central's Bone Health Clinic and let's build better bones together.
Insurance companies aren't in the business of saving you money, they're in the business of taking your money. Hi, this is Will Gosney with Yala Gosney Attorneys at Law. Have you ever had an insurance claim and thought, wow, I really am in good hands, or these folks truly are treating me like a neighbor? Well, that's where we can help. We'll deal with the stress, we'll get you back to your normal life. So save our number in your phone, and if you're ever hurt in a wreck, call or text us at 405-800-8080. It's 405-800-8080.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Ready for some pickleball fun? Join us at the Y-Fac for pickleball every Tuesday from 8 to 11 a.m. and Friday from 5 to 8 p.m. Grab your friends and hit the courts for a lively morning or evening game. If water fitness is your pleasure, Aquazuma classes are every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Go online at yfac.com to learn more about day passes and memberships.
Do you like to stand out in a crowd while wearing the best in OU apparel? The Jimmy Austin Pro Shop carries the best brands you can wear to work or even dress up events. Lines such as Lululemon, Travis Mathew, FootJoy, Greg Norman, Grayson, or Turtleson with the OU and Jimmy Austin logo are sure to catch everyone's eye. You don't have to be a golfer to shop at Jimmy Austin. They also do corporate special orders for you and your company. Call them today, 405-325-6716, or visit theougolfclub.com for more information.
Matthew.
Huh? Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I just need you to listen to me.
I know that a lot of times, Mom, it might not seem like I'm listening to you, but I am. I hear you. And what you say really does matter to me.
I mean, let's be honest. No kid likes rules, but I get why we have them. I hear you, and I know it's because you care.
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Hi Norman, it's DJ Newsom with Alliance Bank, your community-driven, friendly neighborhood bank. Whether you're a budding entrepreneur, lead a nonprofit organization, or just someone seeking a better banking experience, we've got you covered. From business to personal banking, we tailor our services to suit everyone's needs. We believe in making banking easy and enjoyable. Visit our Norman location or call us today at 405-286-5750. Alliance Bank, banking tailored to your needs. Member FDIC.
When I grow up, I want to be a teacher.
Because when I'm a teacher, I can help kids to learn and chase their dreams.
PI, a defect of the immune system, affects millions of children. Early and accurate diagnosis and treatment give children like Sam a chance to achieve their dreams.
It takes a lot of caring teachers to make school fun. It took a lot of caring people to keep my dream alive. And now, because of them, I can be head of the class.
For more information, visit the Jeffrey Modell Foundation at info4pi.org.
Getting about what I expected on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line regarding the whole "do you even want Porter Moser and Oklahoma to make the tournament" question. There's some that are like, yes, of course I want them to make the tournament. And plenty that are like, no, you know what, I want this to be over. I want a new coach.
It's a real question.
It is. And there are differing opinions, which is how you know. You came up with some good sports radio content when people are disagreeing.
Oh, yeah.
Very vehemently, I might add. I saw this on my Twitter feed today, and I'm about to get on my Steely soapbox. I'm about to sound like an old man.
Oh, no. Parker.
Did you see this? A reporter asked Travis Kelce at Super Bowl Media Day what he loves more, Taylor Swift or phantom 15-yard roughing the passer penalties. What are we doing here? And I know this is the thing that the NFL, and I don't know why they do it, but they'll let anybody into Super Bowl Media Day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are people I know, not people I have anything against, but people I know that have gotten credentialed for Super Bowl Media Days in the past. I'm like, who, what, like, how on earth did you get access to this event? And you know what it's all for? It's all for social media clout. That's all it is. You don't ask that question to Travis Kelce because you want an actual answer. You ask that question to Travis Kelce because it's going to go viral on social media. Congratulations, mission accomplished. I guess. You got what you wanted out of it. It's so obnoxious.
I've got an even better story for you.
Oh, please.
So I went with Major League Baseball down to Arlington for All-Star Weekend.
Ooh, okay.
And I was covering the HBCU Classic and a couple other events. And there was a guy and a girl there in the most obnoxious clothes ever. Like this dude's got highlighter,
like tie-dye?
Yes, like highlighter blue tie-dye with orange shorts. And I was like, who the hell did they just credential to be here? They're from Overtime. These little companies like Overtime and whatnot have completely changed what sports media looks like. Quite frankly, look, I have nothing against you. I would have loved to be in there in shorts instead of a polo and slacks like I was in. But it has made this thing look very, very wonky, to say the least. And as for the NFL, I do love the opening night thing. They do sit them up there and make this look like a Hunger Games style thing with how they introduce them and whatnot. It looks good, but do they really want to do this, the players? I guarantee you the answer is no.
Folks, you have your opinions on Elon Musk. I have mine. I'm not going to reveal mine because nothing good could come of that. I will simply say this. Elon Musk was wrong about one thing when he said, you are the media now. No, you are not the media now. Because what happens when, quote unquote, you are the media is stuff like this. You get people asking incendiary questions at Super Bowl Media Day to perhaps the best tight end that has ever worn the uniform at the professional level. Not for the sake of an answer, but for the sake of social media clout.
And pissing him off.
Well, yes, some nobody wants to make a name for themselves by using Travis Kelce and his presence and his relationship.
Some people, they just have too much time. Look, the First Amendment is such a good thing, man.
It is. Love the First Amendment, man.
The First Amendment is a good thing, but social media and the rise of all these damn podcasts and whatnot has told us that not everybody should be able to say whatever the hell they want to say.
Wisecracker on the text line says, I don't think you've ever watched a White House press briefing. Stupid indicator questions is how they all operate now. I wasn't sure what an indicator question was, but then he followed up and said indicator should be incendiary. Okay, stupid incendiary questions is how they all operate now. No, I never have watched a White House press briefing. I do not engage with the world of politics for the most part.
Good for you.
Because Santa John says, Parker, you sound like a media elitist. Call me what you will, Santa John. Not everybody should have credentialed access to events like that.
Yeah. There should be levels to this. You shouldn't send social media, like just random social media influencers or wannabe influencers. Like imagine if just because she had a podcast, the Hawk Tua girl was there.
Oh my goodness.
Asking questions.
And again, that's the type of thing that the NFL would actually do.
Probably.
If the Hawk Tua girl hadn't rug pulled a meme coin and had to go underground, that's probably what would have happened.
Was Baby Gronk there? Was the Rizzler there? Wouldn't be shocked if either were.
Frisco Sooner says, Parker, I believe the thinking coming from Porter Moser is he's just trying to win as many games as possible in hopes to make the tourney. I don't think he even cares about next year because if he doesn't make the tourney, he's probably gone anyway. And look, that's a very salient point. Reformed Sooner says, you've got to be kidding. Your goal is to make the tournament at the beginning of the year. Now we have fans that hope our team fails to reach the goal we all wanted at the beginning of the season. Yeah, there are certainly folks like that. Craig in Cleveland is one of them. He said, fellas, I lost faith in the Porter Moser experiment last season, which is why I had such a wait-and-see attitude in the non-con and a short fuse once they hit the skid in conference play. That being said, I still can't bring myself to root for them to miss the tournament. But since you brought up that scenario, maybe that is for the best. I hate this. That's not fun. Not a fun time right now for OU Hoops. And it's especially not a fun time, Grayson, when you come to realize that you're probably wasting a lottery pick this year.
Yeah.
That's going to be what – and, like, you go back to the Buddy Hield era at Oklahoma. Buddy Hield made a Final Four his senior year. And then the wheels fell off against Villanova. That was a debacle. Not sure how that happened. That was a Villanova team that Oklahoma had beaten pretty handily earlier in the season. But at least he got to the Final Four. Right? That's what everybody strives for, the Final Four. That is the holy grail of college basketball. It's just getting to the Final Four. If you win the national championship, great. But shoot, man, you get to a Final Four, you're remembered. That's what made Porter Moser's career, was just getting to a Final Four with Loyola Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
But Trae Young, that was my freshman year at college, Trae Young's year at Oklahoma. They went 18-14 in the regular season. Lost in the round of 64 to Rhode Island. It felt like Oklahoma kind of wasted a lottery pick. And it was great because he provided highlight upon highlight all season and was almost inarguably the most exciting player in college basketball that year. But it didn't manifest in any sort of extended tournament run. And that's probably going to be the case with Jeremiah Fears, man. And that's a tough thing to swallow because when are you going to get a guy that talented again?
I mean, this one fell into your lap and reclassified, too.
Yep.
Keep that in mind. I mean, this is the most obsolete lottery pick year since Anthony Edwards at Georgia. Georgia had no chance of going to the tournament, and they stunk.
on the YouTube side, we asked this question, we posed this poll question to you at the beginning of the show because it is National Signing Day for football. And so the question posed to you on the KREF Sports YouTube stream, 41 people have chimed in with their answers, but the question was, who is the 2025 signee you think is most likely to make an immediate impact as a true freshman? Michael Fasusi, Elijah Thomas, Cortland Guillory, or other? I'm assuming Drake is the one that put that question together, and he must have been listening to my Cortland Guillory hype, because otherwise Cortland Guillory would not have been on that short list. But yes, Cortland Guillory certainly belongs in that conversation. Let's see what the people say. I can't vote and I can't see the answers until I sign in to YouTube. No, I'm not signing in to YouTube. But Michael Fasusi is what happened?
I'm just laughing at you just not wanting to sign into YouTube.
Yeah, no, forget it. That's another issue. Another issue that society has cultivated. You have to have an account for everything.
Passwords?
No, you have to have an account for everything. You have to sign into something in order to use a service on the internet.
What, do you just want to continue as guest for
everything? Yeah, continue as guest for everything. I wish that was an option. If that was an option, I would do that. I don't need an account for everything. I don't need to be on all these mailing lists. By the way, 60% of listeners, I got the answer from our man Blake Gamble running the YouTube stream. 60% of the listeners said Elijah Thomas is most likely to make an immediate impact.
I agree.
Agree wholeheartedly. Fasusi's probably redshirting. He plays offensive tackle. That's not a position where traditionally you see true freshmen showing up on the field for Oklahoma. Cortland Guillory, yeah, super talented. He could work his way into the rotation. Absolutely. But your starters at that spot are going to be a healthy Gentry Williams, if healthy, and Eli Bowen. And if not Gentry Williams, probably Jacoby Johnson. So, Cortland Guillory is going to face some obstacles in that regard, and his snap count is probably capped at, like, even if everything were to break just so, and he has a flawless fall camp, all that good stuff, he's probably looking at 15 snaps a game, tops. Now, you could feel him in those 15 snaps, sure, but that's probably about where it's capped. Elijah Thomas, man, and I got to see it when the pads come on. That's an obvious prerequisite. I'm not trying to drive the hype too high too fast. With all of what I have heard, the sum of what I have heard about Elijah Thomas to this point, and how ridiculous he has been in winter workouts and testing, I think if there was a true freshman on this roster that managed to work his way into the starting lineup, I think it could be Elijah Thomas. That would be my wager. And frankly, I don't think it's terribly unlikely either. Now, I'm not saying go to Vegas and put money on it, but when you look at that receiver room as it stands, how many guys have proven anything, really, in an Oklahoma uniform versus how many guys are coming in from the transfer portal or coming off injury or really just getting on their feet as far as their career at Oklahoma. A guy that could fall into that category might be somebody like Zion Reagans, who played a whole bunch but didn't do a whole lot from a productive standpoint in 2024. Because that whole picture at wide receiver is so uncertain, and you're not entirely clear on what the hierarchy actually is, there's a very real world in which pads come on in March and Elijah Thomas is just that good that he leapfrogs everybody. Now, it's interesting. The guy that I've repeatedly compared Elijah Thomas to is the guy that most recently pulled this off at Oklahoma, and that's Marvin Mims. See a lot of Marvin Mims in Elijah Thomas's game. It's not an exact congruent comparison, but Marvin Mims was the guy that kind of came out of nowhere in 2020. If you didn't know any better, if you didn't know what he'd done at the high school level, he had 2,400 receiving yards as a senior at Frisco Lone Star High School.
I didn't even know that.
Yes, I know that was the record in the state of Texas, still is. I think it might also be a national record. Regardless, if you knew what Marvin Mims had done at the high school level, he was a guy, he showed up and see him catch a touchdown pass, 58 yards to the crib in his very first career game against Missouri State. It wasn't all that shocking. But if you didn't follow recruiting, you just followed the team. See that guy getting open deep for a touchdown, you're like, Mims? Who is Mims? I don't know Mims. But by the end of the season, everybody knew Mims. Wonder if it's more of the same with Elijah Thomas. Very well could be. All right, that's it for Locked In. Been a fun hour. Thanks for rolling with us. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, 2 p.m. on these here airwaves. For Grayson Singleton, I am Parker Thune. Shout out to Dorsey Jones Buick GMC for their sponsorship of the show. Tyler and Ted take over next as The Rush gets started.